Now, if you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of the Spectre line, the flagship from HP. Over the years, they've been really innovating, pushing the envelope with design, features, and overall great screens and displays and so forth. Really great. I love the pen support. I love the gem cut design they went with over the last few years. So I was looking forward to what they had in store here for 2024. As far as Meteor Lake is concerned, yes, the new chipset from Intel. And good news, today, HP has taken the wraps off their brand new HP Spectre x360, a 14-inch 2-in-1 convertible that really is pretty spectacular. It is now outfitted with the brand new Core 7 Ultra processor, the 155H. It's got a new display with a variable refresh rate up to 120 Hertz. It's OLED. It's absolutely gorgeous. A beautiful slate blue design among other colors, and a host of other new features, all new for 2024. And the good news is I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and it's pretty spectacular. So sit back, relax, and here is the HP Spectre x360 14-inch 2-in-1 convertible, all new for 2024. Coming up.
Now, before we get to the unit itself, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by HP. I'm not being sponsored by HP. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. HP is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit is on loan from HP, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. Now, as far as price is concerned, at the time of this recording, which is January 4th, 2024, I don't have official pricing, but as soon as that information becomes available, which should be the release date, which is the release of this video as well, I will leave that information in the description below. And with that out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. So pretty nice packaging from their flagship here, of course. Here's the unit itself. We'll get to that in a moment. Feels a little bit of heft on it. Okay. And here you can see what you get in the box here. Okay, so we get a few goodies here. We get a HDMI to USB Type-C. You can see it there. Okay. And you get another dongle here, and this of course gives you some extra ports. You got your HDMI, two USB-A ports, connects via USB Type-C, and then there's the other USB Type-C right there. So a really nice value add. I love having these dongles in the box, and some documentation on that dongle. You get your power cord, okay? You can see that there. And you get your charging adapter, and of course it's got the braided cable on this, and it looks like it's the typical 65-watt power adapter from HP. I love its compact nature. We'll get a weight in a moment as far as travel weight, total weight here. We'll get to that right away. And then of course we get the pen. So the pen is an integral part of this 2-in-1, of course, since you'll be able to take notes, sketch out artwork. And we've seen this type of style pen before, and it charges via USB-C, as you can see there. Pops right out, so you can just close that. And very good for taking notes, sketching out artwork. They also give you some extra pen tips as well, as you can see there. So nice little ad there as well. And then of course we'll check out the pen of course later on. And then of course you get some documentation, which includes setup guide, I would imagine, some warranty information, yada yada yada, standard fare right there. And then of course you get the unit itself. And there it is once again in that blue finish that we've seen before. And here you can get a look at this beautiful, absolutely beautiful design here. Gem cut corners like we are used to. And here you can get a look at it, of course. It's going to show some fingerprints, but I got to tell you, this blue finish looks really, really good. And let's see if we can open this with one finger. We can, which is not something you normally can do on a 2-in-1. And here you have a diagram that shows you where you place the pen, and as you can see there, it placed it on the side. So you'll take the pen, sticks magnetically to the side here, like that. Okay, and that's a good fit. Let's put this to the side, and Loving the look of this. Now, the keyboard feels really good. Let's give a listen to the keyboard. Now, one thing I'm noticing here, no moving parts on this touchpad. So I'm assuming here, hopefully rightfully so, a haptic touchpad. No moving parts. Interesting. Now, with the unit alone, let's see, we get 1.460 kilograms. So 1.46 kilograms or 3 pounds, 3.5 ounces. With the pen, you're looking at 1.474 or say 1.473 kilograms or 3 pounds, 3.9 ounces. Now let's get the total travel weight with the power charger and power cord. Okay, with the power cord and the power charger, you're looking at 1.760 kilograms. So 1.76 kilograms or 3 pounds, 14 ounces on the dot. Not too shabby for a 2-in-1 convertible with a total travel weight. Okay, let's check out the port selection. There's a bit of a change here. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But on the left side, you get a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack and a drop jaw USB Type A port. That's it on the left side. And on the right side, you get a USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 port. And in that corner there, the gem cut corner, is a second USB Type-C port. I like the gem cut corners. It keeps the wires out of the way. I like that. Notably missing this time around, there is no longer an SD card reader. Last year, you got that micro SD card reader. That is gone with this 2024 version. Now, when it comes to getting inside this laptop, it's actually pretty easy. There are 4 T5 Torx screws. Remove them, pop off the bottom plate with a guitar pick or pry tool, and that's it. It's pretty easy. There's no hidden screws under any feet or anything like that, so pretty good in that regard. Now, once inside, you'll notice the 68 watt-hour battery. We'll get into that later on. You'll notice the 2 fans for cooling. We'll talk about that as well. Now, as far as the storage, you're looking at 2 terabytes of PCIe NVMe Gen 4 storage here, and the SSD reads and writes here are very good, certainly fast enough for what you need this laptop to do. So that's been pretty good. Now, when it comes to the RAM, you're looking at either 16 or 32 gigabytes of LP DDR5X RAM, and it's 7467 megahertz RAM, and it is running in dual channel mode. Now, one thing to keep in mind, it is soldered into the motherboard like most laptops nowadays, so it's not upgradable by the user. Now, something else that is new, at least for me, I have not seen a laptop with Intel Wi-Fi 7, and this is the first one that does have it here. So that is good to see. It also has Bluetooth 5.4 according to their specs. So pretty nice, and both have been working flawlessly. I've had no issues with either one, but good to see it's future-proof with Wi-Fi 7. All right, let's talk about the display, and there's some pretty significant changes year over year, so let's get into it right now. So they went away from that 3000 by 2000 resolution 3:2 aspect ratio to the 2880 by 1800 that we have here now. That's a 16:10 aspect ratio, and the benefits of going to a 16:10 is that you're going to consume media with less black bars on the top and the bottom. So it's not quite as tall as the 3:2, so you'll see a little bit less on the display, but it'll be better for consuming media. So I think it's the best of both worlds, I think, in the overall scheme of things. So that's just my 2 cents. Now, as far as this display, it's an OLED display, so you're going to get the really deep blacks, the super vibrant colors, the really high contrast, the excellent coverage of the color gamut, and this is extremely color accurate with a 0.60 delta E score, which is excellent. So the display itself is really good in terms of the metrics. It's a bright display coming in at 400 nits when you're consuming standard dynamic range content, up to 500 nits when you're looking at high dynamic range or HDR. So just keep that in mind. So that's pretty good. Although it is a glossy display, so you'll notice some glare and reflections depending on your lighting conditions. So just keep that in mind. But overall, a nice bright display in the grand scheme of things here. And it is also a multi-touch display, so you can navigate the OS with your finger. You could also use the pen. Now, of course, the pen is included with this package, so it's great for taking notes, sketching at artwork, great in that regard. And it charges via USB-C, so you don't have to worry about getting any batteries or anything like that. It charges really fast, so that's good. And I think the overall takeaway is having the pen included is a great value add to this package. And this being a 2-in-1 convertible means you can put it into the different modes. You have the tent mode, which is great for consuming media, watching Netflix, Amazon, and YouTube. Great for presentations. The same could be said for the stand mode. And then, of course, you could also put it into the tablet mode. Great for use with the pen.
So this is the HP wide vision 9 megapixel IR camera. That means you can log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. And it is really good. We're looking at 1440p video here. And I think that's a really good high resolution for certainly doing your video calls and Zoom and your work from home needs, hybrid work needs as well. Now, it's got the Poly Studio here as far as doing the multi-camera and all that stuff. HP has really certainly been killing it in 2023. We expect even better in 2024 to continue that trend. Now, it also has these quote-unquote AI effects or studio effects that is handled by the NPU. Of course, this is a Meteor Lake laptop that does have an NPU, which will handle a lot of those AI effects. So we got the auto framing here. This will always keep you in frame, as you can see, doing it already. Let me turn that off. And then, of course, there's the eye contact we've become familiar with. And then, of course, there's the background blur effect, and there's the standard blur, and then, of course, the portrait blur. And I think they do a really good job here. Now, as far as the audio, what do you think about the noise suppression in the background? What do you think about the audio quality? Let me know in the comment section below. So I think this overall video conferencing for this laptop is really good, but I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments section below. Now, one thing to note, there is a physical key on the keyboard to shutter the webcam to give you more security and privacy. You got to love that as well.
Okay, let's talk performance, and this is running the brand new Meteor Lake processor, the Core Ultra 7 155H, a 28-watt CPU with a total of 16 cores. That's 6 performance cores, 8 efficient cores, and 2 low-power efficient cores, and a total of 22 threads. We've seen it before with the Acer ZenBook 14 OLED we took a look at, as well as the Acer Swift Go 14. Now, those are running those processors as well. But as far as the performance, it's pretty much in line with those two other laptops we took a look at, with good single and multi-core performance. Although, again, you're going to take a little bit of a step back in those areas in more favor of efficiency as far as battery life and, of course, cooling and the thermals on this. So just keep that in mind. But the big increase here, year over year, of generation over generation, is going to be the Intel Arc graphics, which trounced the Intel Iris Xe solution they're employing for the last few years. So a nice upgrade in that department. Now, when it comes to the Cinebench 2024 single-core performance, it scored 103, which is in line with what we've been seeing with the Meteor Lake processors. Not quite as good as the MacBook 14 in the silicon in that area. Not too surprising, although it's getting better. And then, of course, we're seeing, as far as multi-core score, a 749, which is a little bit better than the ZenBook 14 OLED we took a look at, but not quite as good as the Acer Swift Go 14. And when we took a look year over year, Cinebench R23, the 2023 version did surprisingly slightly better than this year's model when it comes to single core performance. But of course, when it comes to multi-core, a much nicer result here in 2024. There's no doubt about it. And when it comes to the 3D Mark year over year, the Time Spy and Firestrike scores show a marked improvement over last year's model in terms of the Time Spy 122.97% increase, 79.03% in Firestrike. That's a significant increase over the Iris Xe solution. And with this increase in graphics performance, I wanted to see how video editing would be in DaVinci Resolve when I rendered an H.264 4K video, 3-minute video. It took 2 minutes and 18 seconds to render that video. That's a lot better than the Iris Xe graphics we saw from years past. And when I changed the codec to H.265, even better, 1 minute 41 seconds. That's a really good result for an integrated solution here. Nicely done here. And just like the other two Meteor Lake laptops I took a look at, we're seeing a much more efficient processor than the previous generations. And we're seeing that in a heavy sustained workload versus the initial workload. So again, much more efficient, less wattage used here, less power consumption. And that's a good thing for battery life and overall performance of this laptop, that's for sure. And when I ran the Time Spy stress test to see if this will thermal throttle under heavy load, it got a score of 96.5%. Just shy of that 97% passing score. So it showed very little, if any, thermal throttling. That's a nice improvement over the 2023 version, where the thermals were not that great compared to what we're seeing here. So a more efficient processor that tends to work better when it comes to the thermal throttling and situation here. So really good in that regard. Now, another area that I'm pleasantly surprised in is how hot the surface temperatures didn't get. In fact, it was about 40, 41 degrees Celsius, which is not too bad, especially where you place your fingers on the keyboard, not much of an issue. On the back, 41, maybe 42 degrees Celsius, so never overly hot, never too hot to the touch. So that's been the theme here. Pretty nice job here when it comes to the thermal temperatures on the surfaces, and that's pretty good. Now, as far as fan noise under heavy load, you will notice it at 45 decibels, although it's not the worst I've ever heard, but it's certainly not the quietest out there. But when you're in the balance mode doing everyday tasks, the fans were not much of an issue, never becoming too distracting, and didn't really kick in all that much when you're doing those basic tasks in the balance mode. So that's been pretty good. And when it comes to battery life, well, once again, we're seeing a nice big improvement here with this more efficient Meteor Lake processor than we saw in last year's model. And of course, that had a 66 watt-hour battery. This has a bigger 68 watt-hour battery. And we're looking at 13 hours and 24 minutes on the PC Mark X Modern Office test. We're looking at 14 hours and 54 minutes on the video playback test. Those are big improvements over last year's model. And I got to tell you, once again, very good battery life here, and that's a good thing for this laptop, that's for sure. And as I showed you earlier, yes, you can open the lid with one finger. And one thing I noticed is not too much screen wobble. That's something that plagues a lot of 2-in-1 convertibles. Not the case with the Spectre x360. Now, there are some key differences when it comes to the keyboard layout and the touchpad year over year. In the 2023 version, the fingerprint scanner is located within the keyboard deck, had a dedicated key for that or dedicated space on there, whereas now the power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner. That worked well, setup was easy, everything worked well. Now, the keyboard layout, other than that, is very similar to last year's model, but one thing you'll notice here is 2 speaker grills on each side of the keyboard in this year's model versus last year, which didn't have that. That's because of the aspect ratio change. You went from a 3:2 aspect ratio to a 16:10, so we now have more room for that. And the other key area where there's a big difference year over year is going to be the touchpad. It's now a more spacious, a bigger touchpad, and it's a haptic touchpad with a really great responsive haptic engine doing 2-finger scrolling, and all the gestures work as expected and worked really well. Now, HP also enables gesture control with that haptic touchpad, and you can see it here. And I think this is a really nice option to go with, especially if you want to do brightness control and stuff like that. And you can see it here. But although sometimes it's a little bit hit or miss, but here we go. You got to do it on the edges here. And it's actually working here very well. And here you can see it in action with it going up and down in terms of the brightness. Here you go, volume up and down. So that's pretty interesting. But what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments section below. And the typing experience on this year's model has been very good. It was good last year, very good this year as far as the tactility, the key travel, the overall feedback, getting work done, typing out long documents, emails, and the like have been very good on this keyboard. I never felt like my fingers were going to bottom out. It's one of my favorite keyboards on a 2-in-1 convertible, and this year is no different. So the HP Spectre x360 here for 2024 has quad speakers, DTS audio. They're really good sounding speakers. I think it fills up the room pretty nicely. It's actually really good in that regard. And I like these 2 speaker grills here, upward firing, in addition to the 2 bottom firing speakers. So a total of 4, obviously. And I'm going to compare it to the best in the business, which I consider, which is, of course, the MacBook Pro 14. This is the M3 Max one that I recently reviewed. For those that didn't see it, I'll drop a link for my review of it in the description below. But as far as audio, I think Apple is the top of the hill here. But let's see what you think about it. Let me know in the comment section below. I think the audio is really good, but I want you to be the judge. So let me know in the comment section below. Now, let's give them a listen.
Hello,
So that is actually pretty good, but I think the Mac sounds a little bit better because I think obviously the 6 speakers versus the quad speakers makes a difference here. And of course, Apple's science when it comes to the music is top notch. But as far as this is concerned, I think it actually sounds really good for a 2-in-1 convertible. I have no complaints here. So good in that regard. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the 2024 HP Spectre x360 14? And I got to tell you, a pretty amazing 14-inch 2.8K OLED display. Now, again, this is a move to a 16:10 aspect ratio. We now have the high refresh rate, the dynamic refresh rate, so you got to like that. It also has that 0.2 millisecond response time. Arc graphics, as we've been seeing with the other Meteor Lake laptops, are a big step forward for the integrated GPU solution here. Up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. You got the HP wide vision 9 megapixel IR camera with the camera shutter. The improved battery life is certainly welcome, and the NPU certainly helps out with the AI or studio effects that we saw in the camera. Soldered RAM, glossy display, and of course the lack of an SD card reader this time around are some of the negatives, but none of those are deal breakers, ladies and gentlemen. The 2024 HP Spectre x360 is a home run in my opinion, and it's one of the best 2-in-1 convertibles I've used in a very long time. And I think the Meteor Lake processor brings a lot of efficiency, better battery life, and overall a better product here for 2024. And I highly recommend this for anybody who's in the market for a great 2-in-1 convertible.
So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget to check me out on my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.